Since 2016, transportation funding has been a priority, as Mississippi roads and bridges are one of our greatest assets. Our next speaker, Representative Charles Busby, has been at the forefront of this effort. As chairman of the House Transportation Committee, he has played a major role in the 2018 special session legislation that will repair or replace more than 160 bridges through the Emergency Road and Bridge Fund. And we saw an additional $80 million provided to transportation last year through the state lottery. We thank him for his continued effort and attention to improving our state's infrastructure. An engineer and business owner, Chairman Busby represents Jackson County. Please welcome Representative Charles Busby.
Well, thank you, Jason, and thanks to MEC for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm very proud of the efforts that have been made for our roads and bridges over the past couple of years. I want to acknowledge the efforts of Governor Bryant and House Ways and Means Chairman Trey Lamar, who helped with a number of these issues. The creative process, the thought process that they put into it has been very beneficial. When utilizing the use tax for local roads and bridges, helping our municipalities and our counties. We're fully funding the local system bridge program, which we did last year through the use tax, and for the emergency road and bridge program, where we spent over $163 million thus far on repairing or replacing bridges throughout the state. The vast majority of those dollars are spent at the local level. Mississippi has garnered national attention for the way it's addressed its road and bridge program. The American Society of Civil Engineers will be coming out very quickly, very soon, with their infrastructure report card for the nation, highlighting Mississippi and the way that we have addressed these issues. As we work towards issues going forward in the future, I still think that it's a good idea that we move away from the income tax model that we have in the state of Mississippi and more to a consumption tax. I will file a bill again this year that would raise the fuel tax by 8 cents over the next 4 years and the diesel tax by 12 cents over the next 4 years, while eliminating the 4% income tax over that same period of time. It's an initiative that I've been pushing for the last few years, and I hopefully see it get some progress this year. With COVID and the threat that it provides here in the legislature, I think we should all be very discerning. All of our chairmen need to be very discerning about the bills that they bring forward. Each individual member of the House and Senate needs to be discerning about the bills that they bring forward so that we can complete our work here and as quickly as possible and get back to our families and reduce the threat of spreading the virus here within the legislature. So thank you for having me today, and I appreciate the work that's been done here in Mississippi over the past several years, and I look forward to continuing to work for Mississippi to improve our roads and bridges.
As we continue to focus on improving our transportation system, understanding the needs is an important step. Senator JENIFER BRANNING was named chair of the Senate Highways and Transportation Committee in November. Since that time, she has already held a 2-day hearing to explore what needs exist and began identifying possible solutions. One of MEC's top priorities is improving our roads and bridges. Nonetheless, we appreciate her efforts and look forward to working with her. An attorney, Chairwoman Branning represents Leake, Neshoba, and Winston counties respectively. Please welcome Senator Branning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to address you at the annual MEC Capitol Day. It looks a little different this year, but if there's anything that we have learned over the last year, it's how to be flexible and continue to work and serve despite various circumstances. First, I'll give you a general overview of what can be expected this session, none of which will be a surprise to any of those of you viewing today. The Medicaid Tech Bill will be among items on our agenda, as well as redistricting, phasing out of income tax, and as always, the budget will be among those main topics of discussion. And I'm very supportive of efforts to phase out income tax. I think moving our tax structure to more of a user-based system is a wise move from an economic standpoint, but we must do so in a way and at a time that makes sense. We all understand that COVID has presented not only health challenges, but fiscal challenges to our state. And I'm glad that we were in a good fiscal position at the start of the virus, so that has certainly helped to curb the blow. But we must still be watching, and we will be watching our revenue projections and other economic indicators in an effort to make good decisions going forward for our state. And moving on specifically to the Transportation Committee, I'm excited to be serving as chair of the Senate Highways and Transportation Committee this year, and I look forward to working with other leaders across the state to continue addressing issues facing our state's infrastructure system. First, I'd like to recap the work of the legislature over the last couple of years when it comes to our transportation system. I think it is important and it will give us the proper perspective going forward. First of all, the lottery. From the 2018 special session, the lottery provides for up to $80 million annually to be deposited into the State Highway Fund, dedicated towards state highway maintenance, repair, and in some circumstances, federal match money. For the lottery's first year, it has netted the state a little over $70 million. Then we have the use tax diversion that was also a result of the 2018 special session, and it came about, as you know, from the South Dakota versus Wayfair case that was handed down by the United States Supreme Court in the early summer of 2018. It provides for 35% of use tax revenue to be diverted to cities and counties, 5% of that going to the local system bridge program. In its inception, it was expected to generate about $120 million a year over a 4-year phase-in period once it's fully phased in. Right now, we're in the second year. We're at the 50% mark. It'll be fully implemented in 2023. But in its inception, it was expected to generate $120 million a year. To date, there's been $56 million in collections from use tax revenue. Then the BP settlement. This is a total of $750 million that we're talking about, $40 million annually for 15 years, and this is for infrastructure projects in our cities and counties. Then we've got the Emergency Road and Bridge Repair Fund program. This legislation was established as a mechanism to begin addressing critical infrastructure needs all around our state. And as you know, there was $250 million in bonds that were authorized as the initial funding source for this program. 250 have been funded, 250 million, and we had a total of $970 million of requests. So there's still lots of needs out there. Local governments received about $213 million of the $250 million, which is about 85% of the total projects awarded. So as you can see, significant monies have been dedicated to the Mississippi transportation system over the last couple of years, which is definitely a step in the right direction for the maintenance and preservation of our transportation system. And it's a step in the right direction for economic development as well. But many discussions are going forward about the next step and long-term goals for this area of our state. I'm deeply involved in various discussions right now and am conducting research on a couple of items. More details on that later. But you will see us taking a hard look at making sure the monies going into transportation are being used in the intended manner. That the administration side is being run as efficiently as possible, and there's less red tape to deal with to get these projects up and running. It's important that we have appropriate checks and systems in place to maximize the use of taxpayer dollars. You should hear more about this as the session progresses. From an appropriations standpoint, there's still so many unknowns. In fact, we may not even have a true sense of the financial impact of COVID on our state's economy until possibly next year. For that reason, we will continue to carefully monitor revenues and other financial indicators as we consider new policy, not only for transportation, but for all other areas of our state. And I thank you for your time and attention. I look forward to seeing all of you here at the Capitol. I've got several things that I'm looking at this year, and with that said, I think we have to have the proper perspective. We've got to look back to the funding that we were able to put into place over the last couple of years. Includes the BP settlement funds of $750 million, the emergency road and bridge program, the lottery, the use tax diversion. That's a lot of money that we have put toward road and bridge, which is very good for economic development. This session, I plan to look for ways to be more efficient with those dollars and look for things possibly within MDOT that maybe aren't as efficient as they could be, to detect any waste that may be there, and just sort of clean some things up in that regard.
How critical is infrastructure to Mississippi and economic development?
Oh, it's absolutely critical. You know, our number one industry is agriculture. Within that, we have poultry and forestry, and so they depend largely upon an efficient transportation system. So I am always looking for ways to improve the infrastructure system in our state for our farmers and the ag community as a whole, but we also have to be very efficient with the tax dollars that we put into that agency.
Where does Mississippi rank compared to other states, Arkansas, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, in terms of infrastructure, and where would you like to see it go?
Well, I'm not sure the exact rankings of the structure, but I can tell you that as far as weight limits go, we have one of the lower weight limits among our neighbors, and I believe that causes us to lose some economic development opportunities. Not to say that there's a weight bill coming forward, but I think that people look at that very heavily when they're trying to make a decision of whether to locate in Mississippi or our sister states.
How important is the involvement of MEC when it comes to transportation issues around the state?
Very important. I think MEC does a very good job of putting forward the issues that we're facing, and really to help us look for solutions and to communicate that to the public as a whole.
We will continue our work with driver's license, working with Commissioner Sean Tyndall at Department of Public Safety. I think the things that we put in place last year are working really well. I'm hearing fewer and fewer complaints about Driver's License Bureau. So I want to make sure those things work and any tweaks we need to do to that. And then, of course, always looking for funding revenue for our roads and bridges, ways that we can maintain those assets better than we've been doing in the past. One of the ideas that's been floated out there for the past few years is to do away with 4% income tax bracket and replace that with an increase in the fuel tax. So that bill will be offered. Also looking forward to hearing that there is going to be a large federal infrastructure package coming out within the first 100 days of the new administration. So I'm anxious to see what that looks like. We're probably going to get a dummy bill in place so that we can take advantage of that and have those code sections available to us. But if the timing doesn't work out this year, then we'll have to do it in a special session or come back next year and take care of that.
Why is infrastructure so important to make Mississippi more competitive with states in this area?
Well, the economy of the state depends on our infrastructure. Everything from highways to rail to our ports. All of that very important to the state of Mississippi, up and down the river and also along the coast. It's just vital for us to be able to get our goods and products to market.
And what would you like to see happen in this session to move forward in that area?
I think ultimately what I'd like to see is that replacement of the 4% income tax with a fuel tax, with a gas tax that is phased in 8 cents over a 4-year period, 2 cents per year over a 4-year period, and for diesel 3 cents per year over a 4-year period for 12 cents, and then index that going forward.
We're really trying to continue to get the legislature to understand the importance of career and technical education and work with our Department of Education to make this a priority. And I'm excited about where we are with that. One of the things that MEC has worked on for the last couple of years is trying to find funding for ACT work keys for our high school students. Work keys is simply an assessment of work readiness. It's really it tells them kind of what to expect when they are going into post-secondary education or into the workforce. Now, why this is so important is all Mississippi students already have an opportunity to take the ACT. If we can layer on top of the ACT work keys, the work readiness assessment, then they're able to decide what is their best route for post-secondary education and really begin to look and see what jobs are out there that not only fit their skills and abilities, but fit their interest, which means that they will then lead to a successful career. So these are little things that make a difference, but they're things that matter, and I think that's one of the reasons that's so important. Department of Education is really looking into the possibility of putting work keys into the accreditability system so that we're able to see that happen, and I think it will make a big difference and really create new opportunities for all of our students, whether they're going into career technical programs, whether they're moving on to a four-year college or university. These are things that will be good for them. They will have these credentials so that when they get into the workforce, they're able to take advantage of it.
Tell us about MEC and who can become members and the value of membership in MEC.
Well, MEC is a private, not-for-profit organization. We are the State Chamber of Commerce. We're supported fully by our business members from across the state. We do not take any government dollars. We really do focus on using the dollars that are given to us through our membership to focus on key issues that really move the economy forward. Some quick examples, we've talked about workforce. Transportation issues are very important. We've heard from both of our transportation chairs today. So all of those things are what build on creating the type of economy. It's all business sectors, from small businesses to large businesses, from manufacturing to financial services. We have a broad base of members, therefore we look at broad-based issues. And really the advantage is that connection with all of the businesses across the state is a chance to be involved, is a chance to have a voice at the Capitol through MEC. And I encourage anyone who may not be a member to take a look at us, and I think you'll see there's a lot of value in what we do as an organization.
How can people get more information?
It's real simple. Our website is mec.ms, and there's a good bit of information there, as well as a button at the top that says click here to join. So hopefully, they'll take advantage of that.